This is the American Indian Alaska Native Student Success Center at Montana State University. And so is this. And this.
And the Student Success Center is community, resilience, and vision.
And soon, it will also be this. And that guy you just heard talking, that's Nick.
My name is Nicholas Rostick. I am an enrolled member of the Yakima Nation. Currently, I serve as the program manager, or one of two, under the director, who's Lisa Perry, for the Office of American Indian Alaska Native Student Success.
But his story starts earlier than that.
I got my undergraduate degree here at MSU. I was a philosophy major.
Nick was involved in many student organizations here at MSU, including the American Indian Council. After graduating, he was always looking for a way to get back to MSU.
And Lisa calls me, and she's like, "Hey, how would you like to come back and work at MSU?" And I think, within a minute, it took less than a minute. Like, yeah, I'd jump at that opportunity in a heartbeat.
Currently, there are over 600 American Indian and Alaska Native students at MSU. Nick and Lisa in the Student Success Center work to support these students in a variety of capacities.
They get referred to us for tutoring, for advocacy, for book scholarship, any number of things. So that's the retention piece of it. We often work with the various academic advisors across college. We interact with professors, instructors if we need to, and then the graduating piece. The goal, and we, as many times, I know Lisa and I try to make it a point, like we try to encourage students, like the reason you're here is we want you to march across that stage in 4 or 5 years. And we'll do everything within our power to make that happen. Our presence, knowing that we're in the student center and that we communicate through email, through social media, that we're developing those relationships with all the people across campus. The students know that we're here to serve them.
The development of the political, social, and cultural capital of the Native students on campus dates back to 1974 when the Student Success Center was founded. At the time, there were 6 Native students. The center had a bit of a tumultuous start before finally landing in the basement of Wilson Hall.
They moved us over to international programs, which I always chuckle, but like the irony, we're housed under international programs and we're the First Nations people. They actually moved us over to anthropology. And luckily through the hard work and kind of through the vision of some students, some community members who kind of were forward thinking ahead of their time, was like, well, why don't we just simultaneously establish academic department and a student success office. Our office is actually housed under that department. So Dr. Fleming is our supervisor, kind of our elder too, I guess.
Being housed under the Native American Studies Department gives the Student Success Center increased access to various financial capital.
So because we're institutionalized, we have a lot of our funding comes through the MSU Foundation. We have endowments. MSU luckily has been very supportive of a lot of the traditions and kind of just the presence of our Native community.
But that support is not always a guarantee around the United States, and especially so in the 70s when the center was just getting started.
At that time, it was still kind of outlawed. It was still kind of a banned reality that Native people couldn't really practice their cultural, ceremonial, the ways that, kind of made us unique. And the relationship of American Indian people with America has never really been racial. It's always been political. So in 1978, 4 years after the center had actually opened, the American Indian Religious Freedom Act was passed, enacted by Congress, and so it was more acceptable to practice things like powwows or certain ceremonial sun dances, stuff like that. But I admire the resilience of Native peoples through that century or so of not being able to practice, and so I think the reflection of the space down in our basement room you see these really intricate, elaborate murals. I think that is just, an expression of that longing and just that kind of that realization of like, we're still here. The murals add life and character and a different dimension altogether. I think that just really makes that kind of space come alive a little more. And Lisa and I, it's a little overwhelming because in our, we're being honest, like we never would want to replicate being a parent, but sometimes that's the role we have. And being there to be with a student either in their proudest moment or their most vulnerable and like terrified moment, like that's the space.
This rich history of struggle and both the trauma and hope that comes with it has created a space in Wilson Hall Room 1 that buzzes with a certain kind of alchemy. You feel it as soon as you step into the room. It's become a safe space, a home.
That the students always feel that they can see it because they see the sweetgrass, they see the murals, they sit and they're like, oh, I can connect with that. That's something I can relate to. So that's a space, that's my space. Our student center pre-pandemic was just kind of a madhouse, but it had the best kind of energy. People were excited to be there. That's their space. And interestingly enough, in a lot of native languages, there is no word for owning. There is no word for ownership or to possess outright. It's always shared. Like we're sharing this space. We're in this space together. And so I think that's the connection. I think that's the energy we try to have in that basement space. And then hopefully we're gonna carry that over to the new building.
Nick could probably tell hundreds of stories that demonstrate this sense of home.
It used to be we'd leave the center open at least Monday through Friday. We'd leave it open all day, all night. What would put an end to it is we just had a group of young men, especially young men, who, for whatever reason, they could never get themselves back to their dorm room to sleep and properly bathe in hygiene, practice good hygiene. We'd come in and they'd be just crashed out on the couch, because we used to have couches.
Beyond providing a physical place where Native students are able to connect with their peers, history, and culture, the Student Success Center and the American Indian Council, which Nick and Lisa serve as advisors for, provide a rich variety of programs to further foster these connections and support students in all aspects of life.
We do a lot of big hospitality events. Like we do one of our student groups does a huge welcome back barbecue in the fall. We have a very active student group life, and multiple organizations are doing meeting and doing things week to week. American Indian Heritage Day, that's become a kind of a marquee event. From fashion shows to art exhibitions to socially distanced fashion shows to bringing in prominent Native scholars and elders to just share wisdom. Things like the parade, the barbecues, the powwow. They do the really cool auction, like online auction. They do cultural events like beadwork. We partner with counseling and psych services like Talking Circle, Healing Circle.
And they provide academic support.
Something Lisa nor I kind of anticipated being as successful as it has been is our tutoring program.
And that's how I know Nick. I'm a tutor in the center.
That is by far been, if not the most successful, one of the most successful pieces of programming that we've done.
The Student Success Center has developed a collaborative power structure and interdisciplinary decision-making process, which allows them to have many roles and fulfill their mission to serve the Native students of MSU.
It's easy to look at the work we do and say that, well, there's only two of you, Lisa and I really. And if you watch Lisa and I work day to day, like I think we try not to let that kind of thinking limit how we've operated.
Nick takes a number of things into consideration when developing programming.
Some of it's efficiency, practicality, community, and then is it fun? I want, if I put in the hard work, I want people to show up. We want it to be fun. We want it to be worth their while. And so when you think of that, so that's kind of generally the philosophy of planning. And then there's usually the next prudent step would be, there's usually a cost associated to this. So if I'm going to do this, then I have to, get partners across campus on board, or I have to go, make a pitch to our department head and our business manager. Like, this is, the parameters. I think this is feasible. I think this is doable. And usually 99% of the time they're really supportive. It's a highly collaborative process, but at the end of the day, I think everyone usually is pretty happy with how it turns out. I think, our students, they get a sense of when they come to MSU and they're a part of our community, that community matters. Getting people involved matters. And so luckily our students kind of have that DNA, they work that into how they think and how they want to be a part of the community. Students are our best recruiters. They can articulate, they can communicate to their peers, like, this is something you guys should support.
Soon, the Student Success Center will be leaving Wilson Hall for its new home in American Indian Hall, a project that demonstrates dedication to collaboration and student success.
This is supposed to be a space for students. That was the commitment from the president, from the foundation, from the student body, to the architects, to our campus planning people. Like, the theme is a home away from home. That space has always been, again, we like to think of it as students' space. We want it to feel like something they can connect to. It's a sense of home, or it's a piece of home that comes with them, when they leave their families. We really had to go out and get feedback from all the tribal communities in Montana, all the work of, like, how do we incorporate their field, their experience, what this is going to mean for them as they send their children to the university. I mean, there's so much collaboration, so much thoughtfulness, and so much care that has gone into it. I think it'll be phenomenal to really walk in there and just get a sense of, like, this is a legacy. This is a testament to the legacy and commitment of Montana State to its Native students and to the tribal peoples of Montana.
But the deep connection to the space in Wilson will make the move a little bittersweet.
I feel sad, a little grief-stricken, in the sense that, like, that's the space I became an adult in. That's where I learned to love life and have a passion for education. That's some of the more profound moments in my young life, and some of the harder moments in my life were in that space.
Ultimately, the move to American Indian Hall creates the opportunity for the Student Success Center to expand its programming even more. Nick already has a few ideas.
Wellness is a big one, with some of the health disparities. A lot of students are keenly aware when they come from either the reservation or the urban areas. Like, there are some big health disparities, like addiction or diabetes, or other things that tend to hinder family members. And I think in our new building we'll actually have, like, an activity that's like probably maybe this size room, like activity room space, where it'll be mats on the floor, and like, we can do more of that stuff.
And of course, wellness extends beyond physical health.
Something that really focuses on mental and emotional health and well-being. Trying to do the healing aspect of it too, because a lot of times students are like, this sucks, I have to not only be a good student, but I have to reconcile my own healing and my own trauma at the same time. That can be overwhelming. And so, just how do we equip ourselves? How do we equip our students? So that's some of the program I'd like to see.
Ideally, the new space will allow the Student Success Center to continue to expand and facilitate the holistic well-being of its Native students, including through nutrition, exercise, healing, childcare support, and having a place to call home here at MSU.